Here's something most people never realized about Home Alone. The pain wasn't just on screen. Behind the holiday magic was a rushed production, brutal winter weather, dangerous practical stunts, and a 9-year-old lead carrying an entire studio's expectations. Director Chris Columbus pushed for realism, which meant real falls, real fire gags, and real exhaustion. The comedy worked because the reactions were authentic, and sometimes they were authentic because someone actually got hurt. Number 20. Joe Pesci left a permanent scar. Joe Pesci stayed in character between takes to intimidate young Macaulay Culkin and build genuine tension. During rehearsal for the scene where Harry threatens to bite Kevin's fingers off, Pesci accidentally bit Culkin's finger for real. Hard. The bite broke skin and left a small but permanent scar. Culkin has confirmed in interviews that the mark is still visible decades later. It was not scripted. It was not planned. It was simply an actor leaning too far into method intensity while working opposite a child. That scar became an invisible souvenir of one of the biggest family comedies ever made. Number 19. The blowtorch stunt was dangerously real. The iconic scene where Harry's head is engulfed in flames looks cartoonish. It was not. The production used a carefully timed practical flame effect with a fire-resistant cap and protective gel applied to the stunt performer's scalp. The timing had to be exact. Too long and it would cause severe burns. Too short and it would not read on camera. Multiple takes increased risk. Even with precautions, minor burns were reported during testing. Modern productions would rely heavily on CGI for a gag like this. In 1990, they used real fire. That brief shot of Harry's flaming head required meticulous safety choreography and genuine risk tolerance from the stunt team. Number 18. The icy stairs caused real bruising. Daniel Stern performed many of Marv's physical gags himself. The infamous icy staircase fall required him to repeatedly slip backward down coated steps designed to look frozen. The stairs were treated with a slick material over reinforced padding, but even controlled falls generate force. Stern later admitted the sequence left him sore and bruised. Each take required precise footing, exact camera placement, and physical commitment. What audiences laugh at as slapstick required repeated impact with hard surfaces. The comedy works because the pain looks authentic. It often was. Number 17. The tarantula scene could not be faked. The spider placed on Marv's face was real. The production refused to use a mechanical substitute because it would not move naturally enough for close-ups. Stern agreed to let the tarantula crawl across his face and mouth area. He had to perform the scream silently so he would not frighten the spider. The famous shriek was recorded later in a sound booth. The risk was controlled, but it was still a live animal inches from his eyes and lips. One wrong move could have resulted in a bite. The tension you feel watching that scene exists because the actor genuinely had to trust the animal handler and remain completely still. Number 16. Culkin worked at the legal limit at 9 years old. Culkin was the backbone of a major studio production. Child labor laws strictly limited how many hours he could work per day, but the schedule still pushed him to the legal maximum repeatedly. Winter night shoots in Chicago added to the strain. Exterior scenes were filmed in freezing temperatures, sometimes requiring multiple takes to capture physical comedy beats. While adults rotated between stunt doubles and stand-ins, Culkin had to deliver emotional reactions, physical gags, and comedic timing with consistency. The pressure of carrying nearly every scene in a holiday blockbuster at that age was immense. The performance feels effortless. It was anything but. Number 15. The paint cans could have been fatal. The swinging paint cans are one of the most famous gags in the film. Kevin releases them from the staircase landing and they slam directly into Harry and Marv's faces. It plays like a cartoon. In reality, it would likely cause skull fractures. The production used lighter materials and carefully timed stunt choreography, but the impact still required precise alignment. The stunt team calculated speed and swing arc to make it look devastating without actually crushing someone's face. Even so, repeated takes meant repeated near misses. Experts have since analyzed the scene and confirmed that real full paint cans dropped from that height would almost certainly be lethal. The laugh works because it looks brutally real. Physics says it is. Number 14. The nail through the foot was physically demanding. Marv stepping barefoot onto a nail is one of the most painful moments in the movie. The shot required a prosthetic foot and clever camera positioning. But getting the reaction right was harder than it seems. Daniel Stern had to slam his foot down repeatedly for timing while balancing awkwardly on set pieces. Even though the nail was retracted for safety, the downward motion had to look forceful. The tension in his leg and the repeated impact caused strain. The scream that follows was earned. It was not just acting. Physical comedy requires exact muscle control, especially when pretending to suffer extreme pain without actually injuring yourself. That kind of precision is exhausting. Number 13. The basement furnace. Scared Culkin for real. The monstrous furnace scene was not meant to be gentle. Director Chris Columbus wanted genuine fear in Kevin's face. The production used practical lighting, rumbling sound effects, and mechanical movement to make the furnace appear alive. For a 9-year-old standing alone in a dark basement set, the effect worked. Culkin has admitted he was genuinely unsettled during filming. The booming sounds were loud. The set lighting was harsh and unpredictable. That trembling hesitation you see in Kevin's eyes is not entirely pretend. Sometimes directors capture authenticity by placing actors in uncomfortable situations. In this case, it meant amplifying childhood fear rather than softening it. Number 12. Joe Pesci burnt his hand during rehearsal. The red-hot doorknob gag is another slapstick classic. Harry grabs the metal handle and his palm is branded with an M. The effect required heating a prop handle and carefully controlling timing between contact and pull away. During early testing and rehearsal, Joe Pesci reportedly suffered minor burns while experimenting with the effect. Even controlled heat can cause damage if contact lasts too long. The production eventually relied more heavily on stunt coordination and safer prop methods. But the discomfort during preparation was real. What looks like a quick gag demanded precision and tolerance for risk. Fire and skin never mix easily, even in comedy. Number 11. John Candy shot his entire role. In one exhausting night, John Candy filmed nearly all of his scenes as Gus Polinski in a single overnight shoot. He had flown in as a favor to writer John Hughes and agreed to work quickly. The airport and van scenes required extended improvisation. Candy reportedly stayed in character for hours, riffing jokes and stories to give the editors options. An overnight filming is physically draining. Energy drops. Focus slips. Yet Candy had to deliver warmth and comedic timing opposite a stressed Catherine O'Hara. The performance feels effortless and charming. Behind the scenes, it was a marathon session, fueled by professionalism and exhaustion. Number 10. The house was not a soundstage. At first, the iconic McAllister home looks cozy and controlled. It was not built entirely on a traditional Hollywood stage. Early interior work began inside a real suburban house in Winnetka, Illinois. That created major production strain. Lighting rigs had to be squeezed into ceilings not designed for film equipment. Winter temperatures outside seeped through during night shoots. Exterior snow conditions meant cast, and crew constantly moved between freezing outdoor setups and overheated interiors. Eventually, parts of the home were recreated inside an abandoned high school gymnasium for more control. But the early weeks were cramped and uncomfortable. Shooting a holiday classic inside a real residential space added realism. It also added physical stress and logistical chaos. Number 9. The Micro Machines scene. Hurt more than expected. The scene where Harry crashes onto a floor scattered with toy cars is slapstick gold. It looks simple. It was not. Even with padded surfaces beneath the set floor, Stepping and falling onto small rolling objects is unpredictable. The stunt team rehearsed multiple times to determine where weight would shift and how the fall should land. Even then, balance could go wrong in an instant. Rolling props move under pressure. Ankles twist. Knees buckle. Minor bruising and strain were common during testing. The reason the scene feels chaotic is because it had to be. The body naturally reacts to instability. That realism is exactly what makes the moment believable and painful to watch. Number 8. The aftershave scream was done in one take. Kevin's iconic scream after applying aftershave is one of the most quoted moments in holiday movie history. The reaction had to look raw and immediate. That meant limiting takes. The production avoided repeatedly applying the alcohol-based liquid to young Macaulay Culkin to prevent skin irritation. The famous face slap and scream were captured efficiently. What makes the moment work is the sharpness of the reaction. Even though the product used was diluted for safety, alcohol on freshly washed skin can sting. The crew wanted authenticity without prolonged discomfort. They got the shot quickly. Sometimes pain reads best when it is spontaneous. Number 7. The iron drop required extreme timing. When the clothes iron falls from the laundry chute and slams into Marv's face, it feels heavy, because it is meant to. The prop iron used in filming was lighter than a real household appliance, but it still had weight. The stunt performer had to hit a precise mark while the iron dropped along a controlled wire system. Too early, and the gag fails. Too late, and someone gets injured. The impact shot required repeated alignment checks and camera resets. Even lightweight props can cause damage if momentum is wrong. The tension in that scene comes from gravity. Gravity is not forgiving. Every drop required complete trust between crew and performer. Number 6. The film almost lost its studio support. Midway through production, the film's original studio parent company shifted priorities, leaving the project in financial uncertainty. The production was effectively rescued when another division stepped in to continue funding. That instability created pressure on cast and crew. Schedule compression meant longer workdays. Budget scrutiny meant fewer luxuries. The team had to prove the film's value while still shooting physically demanding sequences. When a project hangs in the balance, tension rises on set. For a holiday comedy that would become one of the highest-grossing films of its era, the environment behind the scenes was surprisingly stressful. Success was not guaranteed. It was fought for. Number 5. The crowbar slip could have ended very badly when Marv tries to pry open the basement door with a crowbar and it slips, smashing into his face. It plays like classic slapstick. But metal tools and close quarters are not forgiving. The production used modified prop tools and choreographed movement, yet the action still required the performer to be inches from real impact points. The stunt team rehearsed repeatedly to make sure the tool rebounded safely. One wrong angle could have caused a broken nose or worse. Physical comedy demands controlled chaos. The crowbar scene looked spontaneous, but it was built on strict timing and genuine risk. The bruise level impacts you see were not entirely imaginary. Number 4. Catherine O'Hara filmed in isolation. Catherine O'Hara carries the emotional spine of the film as Kevin's frantic mother. Many of her airport and travel sequences were filmed separately from the main cast. That meant long days acting opposite stand-ins or empty spaces. Emotional urgency had to be sustained without the child actor present. Overnight shoots, rushed setups, and compressed schedules intensified the strain. The panic you feel in her performance comes from layered stress. She was juggling improvisation, travel sequences, and rapid dialogue under time pressure. Comedy and emotion rarely mix easily. She made it seamless. Behind the camera, it was physically draining. Number 3. The Wet Bandit's final falls were brutal. The final act turns the house into a gauntlet of punishment. Falls downstairs. Impacts against walls. Full-body wipeouts. Many of these were performed by professional stunt doubles wearing hidden padding beneath wardrobe. Even with protection, repeated high-impact falls accumulate strain. Back soreness, joint stress, and bruising were common during shooting. The staircase tumble in particular required multiple takes from different angles. Each fall demanded full body commitment. The audience laughs because the pain looks exaggerated. In truth, the performers were absorbing real physical force. Slapstick is funny because it flirts with danger. This production flirted often. Number 2. Culkin was carrying a massive box office bet. By the time cameras rolled, Macaulay Culkin had already gained attention from earlier roles, but Home Alone placed extraordinary commercial pressure on him. He appears in nearly every scene. A child actor shouldering that responsibility meant long rehearsal hours and constant camera focus. He had to memorize complex trap sequences, maintain comedic timing, and deliver emotional beats convincingly. Studio expectations were high. If the performance failed, the film failed. That invisible weight is not physical, but it is exhausting. The charm audiences remember was built under intense spotlight pressure for a 9-year-old. Number 1. The violence would be impossible to film today. Many stunt coordinators and safety experts have since stated that several sequences in Home Alone would not be approved under modern insurance standards without heavy CGI substitution. Swinging paint cans, flaming heads, full-force falls, and heavy object drops present unacceptable liability by current guidelines. In 1990, practical effects ruled. Performers absorbed impact. Fire burned close. Tools swung near faces. The realism that makes the comedy iconic exists because it was captured physically. The laughs were earned through risk tolerance that modern productions rarely allow. That makes the film both hilarious and quietly astonishing. Home Alone feels warm and timeless, but behind the ornaments and one-liners were bruises, burns, exhaustion, and real risk. That is the hidden truth of practical filmmaking in the early 1990s. The pain made the comedy believable, and maybe that is why it still hits harder than anything that came after.